All right, welcome to all of the families. I am going to open the chat briefly. If you can please just share your name and where you're from and what you're most excited for your student here at NAU. The chat will only be open for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to move us all into the Q&A where you can ask your questions. Some of you did send in questions beforehand. We're going to ask those to our panelists today. I'm really excited to introduce you to our panelists in a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you just popped in, if you can share in the chat your name and where you're from, and what are you most excited for your incoming lumberjack? We're really excited to have them here. For our attendees, if you can just give me a little react button to let me know that you're here. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. All right. Okay, I love the emoji, so please keep those coming. If our panelists share something that's really exciting to you, please share these to let them know that you're excited too. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. And I just want to draw some attention to our note at the bottom here. I will be sending you all a follow-up email and a recording of the webinar. I will also send a list of important links that will be shared with everyone who's registered. So even if you don't attend the entire event, you will receive these resources. All right, and we're really excited to get started this evening. My name is Micheline. I work in family engagement for strategic enrollment and marketing. My role is to ensure that families have resources and information and connection so that while you're supporting your student to be successful here at NAU, we're in partnership and you know where to turn. So we're really excited to be partners in your student success. I'm going to let my other host introduce himself real quick.
Yes, I'm Ben Carver. I'm the director of first year experience, and it's great to see you all this evening. One of the things that we do is we offer up a variety of orientation programming and events for new students. So that's why I'm here today.
Awesome. I'm going to get started by doing a quick land acknowledgement. NAU sits at the base of the San Francisco Peaks on homeland sacred to Native Americans throughout the region. We honor their past, present, and future generations who have lived here for millennia and will forever call this place home. And again, we're super excited to have you here virtually, and we can't wait to welcome you here in the fall. I see some answers happening in the chat. I love it. If you can also share what you're most excited for your incoming lumberjack, we'd love to hear that as well. And I'm going to let Ben go ahead and just talk a little bit about what new student onboarding is because you are participating in that right now. You may know that as orientation. The language has changed, so I'm going to let Ben take it from here and explain that.
Yes, so here at NAU, we call orientation onboarding, and that's to reflect the fact that we have sort of a flexible approach to getting your student ready for their first semester at NAU. And one of the main ways that we do that over the summer is through what you can see on the screen here are online modules for new students. So that is a online course that's offered through Canvas, which is our learning management system at NAU. And the title of that course is Onboarding for New Students. And that course is open right now for your student. And your student should have received numerous emails from us already about that. But it's a great resource. It's the main resource that we have for them over the summer. And so you don't have to come drive up to Flagstaff unless you want to. Your student can get all the information they need through that. And we cover a whole host of things, including topics such as financial aid that will be discussed today. But we also talk about how to get involved on campus. We talk about how to be successful in your first semester. We talk about just a host of things that will get your student ready. So we really encourage them to hop in there, take a look. It doesn't take a whole lot of time either to click through that module and get all the information they need. So yeah, really encourage you to encourage your student, right, to check out that onboarding for new students course. And then, of course, you are in one of the Lumberjack Family Chats, which is one of the other big things that we're doing over the summer to help folks out. And then we also have our Welcome Week in-person events that begin the week before the term begins and then extend into the first week or so of the semester. So our first big in-person event is the college receptions, which is on Friday, August 21st. And that's a great event for families to come check out the campus, come meet faculty, and come see some of the spaces, the buildings where your student is going to be taking classes. So yeah, that's a little bit about onboarding. And hopefully that gives you a sense of the scope of that, and happy to answer any questions in the chat about onboarding. So thank you, Micheline.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We got a lot of questions about onboarding/orientation, so that's super helpful. So next, we're going to hear from the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid, Student and Departmental Accounts, and Campus Health Services. We're really excited to have them here this evening. Again, thank you to everyone who sent questions ahead of time. We were able to use those to create our panel questions, and we'll get through as many of those as possible. I also just shut down the chat, so we won't be asking questions in the chat just because it gets a little hectic in there when we have 200 people asking questions at the same time. So please use the Q&A feature. We have some wonderful Q&A experts from across campus here to answer your questions. There still might be a lot of questions for them, and so if we don't get to all of your questions this evening, just a reminder, I will be sending a follow-up email so you can ask questions with the contact information there or by sending an email to me. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Jose. If you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about OSFA.
Hello, my name is Jose Chavero. My name is again. I have had enough energy drinks, and apparently not enough is enough. My name is Jose. I'm the director of client services for the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. I help oversee our federal financial aid client services team as well as our scholarships client services team. So whenever you all have questions, or if your students have questions about their financial aid package, if they come and visit us in person, or if they call in and get transferred over to our office, my team are those folks who are assisting you and your students with those questions. So whether, like I mentioned, scholarships, grants, loans, work study, we're here to help students access those resources so that they can succeed academically. And some important dates that we have in our office coming up that I would like for you all to keep in mind. And I know some of the common questions is really about scholarships and when we're letting folks know whether or not they receive those scholarships. June 17th, we expect to have notified all students for the 26-27 academic year as far as the results of their actual general scholarship applications. So if your students haven't received that and you are wondering about that too, more to come. We're expecting that here very soon. August 15th, another common question that we get is when do we start dispersing out aid towards a student's account balance and their Louis account? That's August 15th. We legally aren't able to do it any sooner than 10 days before the start of classes, so we try to maximize that time as much as we can. The quickest that we can get the students their disbursement is what we choose, and so we're at August 15th. October 1st is definitely when the FAFSA opens up for their sophomore years, right? So 2027, 2028, y'all will start having those conversations with your students as of October 1st. In previous years, the Department of Ed has been kind of teeter-tottering between the times that they actually open the FAFSA application, but given it is now law, it must open October 1st. We have no concerns or worries that it will be opened up or delayed at a later time. And then moving into 2020, what year is it? 2027. So January 15th of 2027, we will start opening up the applications for our general scholarship applications. That'll open up January 15th, like I mentioned, for the 27-28 academic year. So all of that is to say that while your students are in their first academic year, their minds are already going to start working towards their sophomore years, right? So in the fall semester, they're tackling FAFSA, and the start of the spring semester, they're tackling scholarships. And that should be something that if you all want to help them push them on those reminders, that would be helpful as well. And then, of course, other tips for success that we have from our office that you might hear repeatedly from other partners throughout the series, and especially today. Complete your to-do task items. Some of those task items will involve parents. A lot of those are really just strictly for the student. So if you happen to if you happen to not have seen your student's financial aid awards yet, or if your student hasn't received their financial aid awards but has submitted a FAFSA, they should check their Louis account to see if there's any task items that they need to complete, so that we can move forward. Otherwise, we can't package them with federal aid, and y'all will have that pending question, right? And then reinforcing new habits. There's a lot of email addresses that students have, their personal, their social media platforms, all those things, right? But we really want to make sure that students use their NAU email address because that is what we use to communicate with them, whether it be random updates that we have as a university about all aid, or whenever a student or you all have questions about a student's aid, we will use a student's NAU email address when responding to the student. And then, of course, if you all, as parents, guests, family members, and etc., if you all are going to be wanting to help your students navigate financial aid, ask questions on their behalf, help them with some of the questions or concerns that they have about financial aid, they will very much need to provide you with FERPA access for financial aid requirements specifically. The FERPA is something that a student's information is protected by law. And so if the student wants to, if they choose to provide you access and the ability to speak with us about their information, they very much can, but it has to be a conversation between yourselves and the student. And that's pretty much it on my end.
Awesome. Thank you. And I saw some reacts in there. That's super helpful because we can't see your faces. So I love seeing the react buttons. Jose, you got a lot of really great emojis. Let's show up and do it again for Kelly.
Hi, thank you. It's nice, so nice to see everyone online here. And thanks for taking your time to focus on your account and getting started for fall. My name is Kelly Sanchez. I'm the student accounts manager. So here at Student Accounts, we work with the charges, questions about payments and due dates, and I'm overseeing our front counter area. So if you come up to our office to ask questions, chances are you're going to come and get a chance to say hi to me. And please do stop by once you do make it to campus. We're always happy to help and clarify anything. So please swing by. Just some important dates that we listed here real quick is coming up in July 19th is when we're going to be issuing the fall 26 invoices. And that's a snapshot of the charges that are posted on the account for fall and if there's any anticipated aid. So that's a good time to see if there's any kind of difference there to make plans about how to make to cover if there's any differences for amounts due. And then after aid applies in August, on August 17th is when the charges for tuition, housing, meal plan, that's all going to be due on the 17th, and when we're going to start issuing refunds. So over that weekend, make sure all your aid is dispersing as expected, and then make sure also that your student has their correct information on file so that if they are receiving a refund, we can get that to them as quickly as possible. And some important tips is first for your student is to make sure, again, Jose mentioned it, but to complete all those to-do list items and holds. We can't say it enough because that can really delay things like aid dispersing or charges getting paid. And that can be really kind of hectic to navigate when your students may be moving to campus or and just starting classes. So everything that you can do ahead of time, please keep an eye on that to-do list item or holds. Sign up for direct deposit. We always want to encourage students to do that. So when it comes to refunds for students, there's the most direct and secure way is through direct deposit. Without direct deposit on file, that we do send a paper check to the student, and it can take a little bit longer to go through the mail to get to them. So even if you're not expecting a refund right away, the account is dynamic and changes can happen. So it's good to we recommend having it on file in case. That way we can get your money to the student faster. And then also a quick note for parents who may be using the Parent Plus loan. You have some options that can dictate how the funds are handled when completing the loan application. And if you opt to let the refund be sent to your student, this will allow the funds to be sent to the student's direct deposit information on file. Otherwise, the refund for a Parent Plus loan is sent as a paper check to the parent's address information from the application. So the fastest way to get those funds is also to consider allowing that to go to the student directly. When it comes to accessing the student financial data, Jose talked on that too, but there's the FERPA release, and there's also something that we offer in the payment portal called authorized payers. And it's really good to have that discussion with your student about what kind of access you need to help them through this financial navigation process. So that Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act allows us to speak with a parent or you communicate with them about the balance. But separately, that authorized payer access gives them their own login information to the payment portal where you can view payments and make view charges and make payments and get notifications. Um, Consider self-enrolling into the tuition payment plan if more time is needed to pay by that deadline. So housing and most meal plan charges are broken up into different installments for the term, but tuition is due all up at the beginning. And so we do offer a payment plan that will allow you to break up that balance and to defer those charges a little bit throughout the semester and match with those housing and meal plan charges. And it's easy for students to enroll. They can do that directly in Louis as they need it on a semester basis. And then finally, if you're paying with a 529, the best way is to check in with that 529 company to see what kind of options they offer. Many plans have different options for how they can send funds electronically or by paper check. So some 529s are actually partnered with our payment portal, and you can access that directly in the payment portal for a small service fee and send it through quickly in that way. So check with your own 529 and check in the payment portal to see if you're listed.
All right, thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Mark, and thank you for our attendees for putting all those reacts in there. Love to see it.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see everyone here. So many people from Tucson. That's where I grew up. I'm an Arizona native. Loving Flagstaff, been here 15 years. A little bit about campus health services. Probably not well understood that we're here, specifically for the students, and we have full primary care, we have urgent care, mental health services, physical therapy, nutrition, laboratory services. We have counseling. It's pretty much a full service ambulatory clinic, bigger than many of the primary care clinics you might see around town. Something to know about us is we do accept health insurance plans, specifically PPO plans, not HMO. HMO stands for home, which means local. So if you have an HMO, you have to stay within your local network, meaning going outside of Tucson or Phoenix or San Diego, services won't be covered. But if you have a PPO plan through one of these contracted insurers you see down there, we're able to provide care to your student, and as well as reduce any copays that might be underwritten by your specific plan. Some students will elect for the student health insurance plan. We call that SHIP. That's through United Healthcare. You can sign up for the semester, you can sign up for the year. And that is a pretty robust plan through United Healthcare that is not limited by geography or network. And then for those students who may be underinsured, meaning perhaps the parents have Kaiser and they come here and we're not contracted with Kaiser, there are options, Louis Care being one of them. So it's a discount plan for services at CHS. It's not an insurance plan, but it gives you sort of like a membership to the clinic where you can come in for reduced services, $15 copays, laboratories, counseling, things like that. Um, Something to keep in mind, like when we often get questions about insurance, should I keep my insurance versus go on student health insurance? It really depends on how your plan is underwritten through your work. So, you can keep your children onto your plan until age 26. But again, if you have a really robust plan at home and we're contracted with them, then maybe it's more economic or makes more sense to keep that rather than sign up for the SHIP plan. But reaching out to your HR department at home and going online and comparing to the SHIP plan might answer some of those questions. So one thing that we also want to emphasize at Campus Health is staying healthy while at NEU. The three pillars of student affairs that you'll probably hear frequently as you visit and is the pillar of academics, the pillar of community, and the pillar of wellness. And our earlier speakers have spoke a few times to the degree of wellness, establishing new habits, self-regulating behavior. Wellness creates well-being. Wellness or habits and well-being is the outcome. But at Campus Health, we're here as a resource for students to make sure they stay on track. Yeah, it's not uncommon for academics to impact your health and for your health to impact academics. And I think coming in the majority of our students are young and healthy, but it's easy for them to discount their health. Their stress levels go up, their sleep goes down, and maintaining us as a resource would really help them stay on track with their academics. Um, Healthcare can be complicated, and we want to make sure that it's seamless and that the we're here to answer any questions about insurance. But think of Campus Health as sort of like a membership. You're already coming to NAU as a member of that community. Joining Campus Health early really helps streamline any future care, whether it's a sprained ankle, a sore throat, or just coming in for your physical because you might need to travel abroad, or you might join a program that requires a physical before you can attend that service. You know, the scholarship athletes are mandated to come in for a physical, each and every one, but we don't do that to our regular student population. So it's not a bad idea just to come in and establish care. If consider us your home away from home when medically when you're away, or touch base with your regular primary care physician and get a physical before you come here. Make sure you're tip top. And if you have any chronic medications that need to be carried over, chronic conditions like asthma, epilepsy, we can certainly maintain that. Or work with your physician back home, you know, whether it be some specialist at the Mayo Clinic or whatnot. We're here to enhance the health of your student and their academic success. One thing that to also keep in mind that was mentioned earlier is we also fall under the law of FERPA. So if you have questions about your 18-year-old's asthma, we really can't answer any of those questions unless we have permission on file. So have those conversations early with your burgeoning student and let us know in advance if there's any way we can support your student while they're here. We do offer holistic services, so keep that in mind. It's wraparound care, and it's really a great clinic having worked elsewhere in the community. We have some great providers here. There's 8 of us. There's 4 physicians and 4 nurse practitioners, 3 psychiatrists, and I think half a dozen counselors, as well as a nutritionist and physical therapist. So again, looking forward to meeting your students, hopefully in a healthy state, but we're here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I saw those react buttons in there too. I hope you saw them. That was great information. I am going to move through the next couple of slides pretty quickly because I want to get to our panel question. So I have some important dates at a glance for you. Please feel welcome to take a picture of this slide. Some that I want to point out because they weren't already covered and we get them often. Parking permits will go on sale on August 3rd. Move-in will begin August 19th through the 23rd, although for the EDGE program, those students can move in on the 17th. Honor students can move in on the 18th. If your student is involved in band, please encourage them to reach out to the marching band to get those important dates. We will have NAU family calendars that we will be handing out to you for free during Welcome Week, so come see me and my amazing team at the college receptions. And then hopefully everyone got a picture of this. I'm going to move to the next slide. I'm also going to move through this one quickly. The reason that we have this slide is because we get so many campus living questions, which makes a lot of sense. It's a big move. And so I'm not going to read through all of these, but again, please take a photo of this slide. Check out the QR codes. We've got our campus living communities where you can see what those look like and get specific information for like the floor plans and the features in the hall. And then we have our fall 2026 move-in dates and information at that second QR code. You can also find a packing list, advice for getting along with a roommate. That kind of information is there as well. We do have someone in the Q&A from Campus Living, but she's taking all of your Campus Living questions on her own. So please reach out to Campus Living if you have questions that aren't answered this evening. Okay, hopefully you got a picture of this one. I'm going to move on to our next slide. You've met our lovely panelists. Just some reminders, the panel will end at 6:30. If we don't get through all of our questions, I will be sending a follow-up email again, and so you're welcome to reach out if you have further questions. Please continue to put your questions in the Q&A and continue to use the React button. Again, it's really helpful. We can't see your faces. And please be on the lookout for a follow-up email that will have the recording and then also a PDF with a lot of helpful links. I'm going to go ahead and kick off our panel by asking the first question. Are you ready, Jose? All right. He
I
looks
am
ready.
ready.
Okay, love it. How do students learn what financial aid they've been offered? If a student has not received this information, what are the next steps that they should take?
Yeah, definitely. So, where to check? A few different places to check, but your main hub is going to be your Louis account. So, when you do log into your Louis account, there's that finances section, and your awards will be listed there as a summary for the entire academic year. If your student is not seeing that information on their Louis account and you have submitted a FAFSA, well, before April, we need to figure out what's going on. Is there a task item that hasn't been completed, etc.? If you all still aren't seeing those things pending, please let us know. Or if you have a task item that you're not sure what you're really supposed to do with it, like give us a call, let us know. If you don't see financial aid awarded, maybe you haven't filled out the FAFSA, you might think it's too late. It's not. If you are in a situation where maybe you were banking on a different financial situation, now you're finding yourself in potentially needing the FAFSA, go ahead and fill it out. And my recommendation for students and families is to always fill out the FAFSA, even if you know for certain that you won't get any university grant funding or Pell Grant funding. The reason being is because sometimes there are scholarships out, external scholarships that kind of want to know what your FAFSA eligibility is. So don't put yourself out of the running just because you're confident that you won't get federal funding. The FAFSA is an application that other people use too. So where to find it, Louis, your award letter, if the student has already received that in the mail. And then, of course, giving us a call and figuring out why that's not happening. I do want to mention that nationwide right now, the Department of Ed is now providing copies of the FAFSAs to institutions if they were submitted as of April 26th, and that's going to happen. That pause is going to happen until the end of June. So if you are in a situation where you did fill out the FAFSA late April and you're not seeing anything, that is unfortunately right now expected because of the nationwide delay. And we would expect for that to be over by the end of June so that we can get started back with the packaging process and make you all aware of what you're eligible for sometime by mid-July.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ben's going to ask our next question here.
Yes. So our next question is for Kelly. And this question is, can family members make payments on their student's account? If so, how would they do that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So students can add authorized payers. I did a little mention of them earlier, but they can add them directly in the payment portal. And authorized payers can have their own login to that payment portal without having to share login and password information with the student. So it makes it really convenient for them to log in anytime and check on those charges that are outstanding. They can also make separate payments in there, save payment methods and get the monthly e-bill notifications when an e-bill is generated if a student has a balance. So it's a really good thing to have because students can add multiple authorized payers. Maybe if they have multiple individuals, parents, guardians, other family members or so helping, you can add them in there and they can each, have their own ability to go in there and check in and help the student keep an eye on those finances.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Super helpful information. The next question is for Mark. And Mark, you kind of talked about this on your slide, but we got the question a lot. So, want to understand a little bit more about paying for healthcare at NAU's Campus Health Services. Can you please provide more information about Louis Care and the Student Health Insurance Plan, also known as SHIP? And what are the key differences between these options and how do they opt in? I know that was like 10 questions in one. Let me know if you need me to repeat.
Yeah, I believe opting in, you can go to, there's a link on the Campus Health Services website where you can pay the $175 per semester fee, where you come exclusively to us. We're sort of like, it's not an insurance plan, but it offers you a copay and a reduced visit so that it's unlimited. You can come in for labs, PT, medical, women's health, gender affirming care, really anything for this reduced fee for Louis Care. And that's for the underinsured or uninsured. Some people come here without insurance, or some people come here with insurance that are not contracted through our clinic. That's Louis Care. SHIP, this is sort of a nationwide program that's offered in Arizona at the three state universities. And I believe it's roughly just $2,900 for the year, or about $1,100 a semester. Then you have full medical insurance to go anywhere, Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, Yuma. It's a United Healthcare plan. It's pretty robust. And it's underwritten in a way, meaning, it tells you what your benefits are, what your copays are, what your out-of-pocket deductible. And that's easily found on the United Healthcare or even on the Campus Health Services website where there's a link for SHIP. And again, it stands for Student Health Insurance Plan. And we work with ASU and U of A to keep the premium stable, the benefits the same, and United Healthcare to make sure we take care of a healthy population. Of course, there's always cash. If someone comes in, I really have a doctor back home, I'm fine, I'm happy, but I did sprain my ankle, I would like to be seen. That we do have that available where people come in and can self-pay for their services, and it can be, taken care of in the clinic, or it can be put onto their bursar account, where it can be handled by family members in the way that Kelly described. So I hope that offers some clarity. Again, if you already have one of the contracted plans, and it's a PPO, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, TRICARE, then you're already a member and you come in and you get whatever services that might be at and some places, many of the insurances cover preventative health care at no cost. That's a law that's been in place since 2010. So if you come in for your physical or your well exam, it should be a cost-free benefit. But if you come in for a problem-based, hey, diabetes runs in my family, or I'm feeling really stressed out, or I hurt my knee playing club soccer. Those are the reasons where you generate more of a problem-based code, and that goes to your insurance, and then the whatever contracted reimbursement that they've aligned ahead of time before your arrival.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think the next question here, Micheline, is going to be for Kelly. And that is, can you please share some of the first few key upcoming dates related to student accounts?
Oh yeah. So again, that would be the July 19th. Keep an eye out for that. If you're a student, you're going to receive an email to the NAU email. So there's another reminder to check that NAU email. But if you've also been added as an authorized payer with the access to statements, you'll receive a notification too, as a parent or guardian for an authorized payer, when those statements are available. And so I can't encourage you enough to really take a look at those numbers about what's on there for fall already. And that should include, things like housing, meal plan, and those different charges. And then if you have any anticipated aid already expecting, if there's a difference in that, now's the time to figure out, okay, are we going to maybe consider making payments? Are we needing to request funds from a 529 college savings plan and start getting rolling on that amount, that difference then? So August 17th is that due date for when everything begins being due for fall, and also when we start doing those refunds. So keep everything up to date. If you're mailing in a check payment, whether that's from a 529 or just a personal check payment, please allow up to 2 weeks for that to arrive to the university for us to process. And our cashiers work really hard to post that same day we get them, but it does take some time to get through the mail if it's coming through the mail. So, really at the start of the invoices is when you want to think about, okay, what do we need to start sending ahead of time now that we know kind of what everything's shaken up to be for charges and payments and aid and funds.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. All right, next question is for Jose. We received a lot of questions about loans. Some of them weren't even questions, they just said loans. So a lot of big thoughts and feelings around loans. Can you please define what a loan is and how do families and students apply for those loans, or could they have already done that by perhaps completing the FAFSA, for example? And then what are their next steps?
Yes. So loans, money you have to pay back, but who pays it back depends on who has the loan, right? And there are overall two types of loans. There's federal student loans and then there's private education loans. Those are the ones that we're mainly talking about. With focusing on federal student loans, those are the loans that we can offer only if a family has submitted a FAFSA. If a student is a dependent student, which I will confidently presume that most of your students are dependents. And how do you know? If you had to fill out part of the FAFSA, they are a dependent student. So for dependent students, they will be offered an unsubsidized and a subsidized loan for no more than $5,500 in their first year. And then it starts increasing a little bit their second, and then it level plateaus in their third and fourth year. A student can borrow up to the amount that they've been offered for the entire academic year. So for their first year, 5,500, that is 2,750 in the fall, 2,750 in the spring. On their Louis account, they can go ahead and go in and accept up to the amount that they want to accept, right? They are not required to accept the full amount. They're not required to accept a dollar. They're not required to do anything with that loan. It is there as an offer. And what I usually advise to students and parents and families is that instead of immediately declining it and then maybe later finding out you might have use for some of that and asking for it to get reposted, leave it on there. Don't do anything with it. And if you later find need or, if you've determined that there is some kind of borrowing necessity, then you have that option there that that they can go ahead and take action on. Earlier in the Q&A, I saw some questions about the Parent Plus loan, so that's the one that we'll focus on next. Again, Parent Plus loans are still federal student loans, so we have to have a FAFSA on file in order for us to offer a Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan are funds that the student uses for their educational success, so it goes towards their charges. If there's more aid accepted, including loans, then they do have charges, then they get the refund of that excess and use that for their success, right? So the Parent Plus loan has a heavier interest rate. The funds are used by the student, but the person on the hook to repay it is the parent who borrows it. And the repayment on that Parent Plus loan begins 60 days after it's been fully dispersed. Again, we have the fall semester and the spring semester. So we'll have the spring portion, or sorry, the fall portion dispersed, then the spring repayment begins 60 days after that spring semester disperses out. So just a heads up on that. With private education loans, it's a bit of a lengthier process and there's more competition. The interest rates might vary, the repayment options might vary. It varies. Uh, Students might need a cosigner, they might not. It really depends. There are online resources that NAU has made available for students and families to go and browse safely for private education lenders. And I do want to make it very clear that NAU does not recommend any specific lender. What we do have are specific platforms and tools so that folks can safely navigate those options. But anyone you see on that list isn't anyone that we specifically prefer. Right. And the last thing I'll leave with student loans is that this student loan should be considered as a last resort option, right? You want to maximize how much you might receive in scholarships, federal grants, institutional grants. If you've already filled out the FAFSA, you know where you're at there, and you haven't been able to maximize on the scholarships at least this first year. Again, remember there's second, third, fourth year opportunities to get scholarships. Then a private education loan might be something that you'll have to consider.
Great. So our next question here is from Mark. Throughout the summer, new students are taking various steps to prepare for their time at NAU. One of those steps is to submit their measles, mumps, and rubella immunization records, MMR records. Can you please share briefly a bit about required immunizations and the process for submitting those? And if if families or students have further questions, what is the best way for them to get in touch about those?
Yeah, really appreciate that question. Again, there's a lot of links coming off the community campus health services website, including immunizations, which ones are required, measles, mumps, rubella being one of them, and how to upload your records. For those who have declined that, one way to move forward in your enrollment is to sign a declination form where you are declining the measles, mumps, rubella for other reasons. But again, there are measles, mumps policies that have been revised given the outbreak in our neighboring county, Mojave, which is on the border north of us, that have restructured some of the way we would react if there's an outbreak on campus. And that would only require one student to have measles to label this as an outbreak. And so again, familiarize yourself with those new policies on the measles, mumps, rubella immunization web link that's on Campus Health. And again, it's one of the required vaccines for NAU attendance. There are others that are recommended, like your meningitis shot, especially if you're going to be in a dorm. That's sort of a fertile ground for meningitis to spread. Any military recruits, dormitories, close quarters, things like that. And then there's the recommended ones, here's your annual flu shot, there's your HPVs. Those are things that you typically get through your well child visits when you're growing up, while permission is still your parents to give. So again, reference that website. It's great information, has new updated policies, procedures there regarding that vaccine and others.
Awesome. Thank you
Great,
so
thank you.
much, Mark. All right, the next question is a fun one, and we're going to hear from all three panelists. What is your favorite thing about being part of the Flagstaff and NAU communities? And families, if you've been to Flagstaff and you already know what's really cool about it, if you can just send a react button. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with Kelly answering this question. Ooh, look
Oh
at all
my
those
gosh.
reactions.
Ah, I love this question. Yeah, so my favorite thing is that woven into our community is just this emphasis and awareness of the natural world around us. And people come here, they love nature and they kind of get to enjoy it here. The fun fact about Flagstaff is that it's the first international dark sky city like ever, and that's so that we can better be able to see the stars and study them, which I think is just amazing. It's just one of those things that we show an emphasis on. Small example of it.
Love that. All right. Jose.
Yeah, being outside, totally being outside. There's lots of trails, there's disc golf. Like Kelly mentioned, like you can see all the stars. It's gorgeous. My friends were up here this last weekend and we were out further away from the city and we just looked up and could see the Milky Way just with our eyes, like without anything else needed, no binoculars. It's just a beautiful place to be. So if you like being outdoors, this place is awesome.
So fun, 100% agree. Mark, do you have anything to add? Like, what's your favorite thing about being part of the Flagstaff and NA communities? Maybe aside from being outside. I know that's all of our favorite. That's why we live here.
Well, growing up in Tucson, and I headed north, and I went to Oregon, I went to Minnesota, I went to Montana, Wyoming, and I always came back to Arizona, but then Flagstaff really fit the bill for all of those things. Where else can you be where you drive 50 miles and everything completely changes in the geography and the toposphere and the environment? And then, even when it's wintry and snowy here, you drive 30 miles to Sedona, which is almost a suburb, and you're out hiking in the Red Rocks again. So you take in that into account with this being a great mountain town, being outdoors, the laid back mentality. Um, there's no pretension here. It's just a wonderful place to be. It's very safe, coming from a larger city like Tucson and you watch the Phoenix News, we don't have that stuff here. So it's really just it fits the bill for everything, and not only living, but it's, almost a destination education.
Ooh, I like that destination education. Has a ring to it. All right, we're gonna kick it off to the next question, and Ben's gonna ask that question.
Yes, this one is for Jose. So, how do students find out if they've been awarded a merit scholarship? And where can students find out more about NAU's merit scholarships?
Yeah, so I'll answer the latter piece first. General information about the scholarships can definitely be found on our NAU scholarship website for our first year students. Tons of info on there on the different levels of merit scholarships, the high school like the high school transcript GPA that we need to see, and the associated level of the merit scholarship based on that. All of that stuff is on that website. As far as how should students know or be made aware, they should already have been made aware, folks. So we expect for them to have already received an email about the scholarship itself. And we also expect for them to be able to go into their Louis account and confirm that they see that award on there. If they don't see the award on there, and they're confident that their high school transcript GPA reflects a GPA that is aligning with what we have on the website, they should work with their student recruitment coordinator to request an evaluation of that scholarship. As a heads up and reminder, in case you all don't know, we look at specifically unweighted GPAs. from their high school. So if they did take honors classes or dual or concurrent enrollment courses, we're not looking at the 5.0 scale. That's super duper A. We're looking at the standard 4.0 scale.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jose. And for our attendees, I did drop the link to find the student recruitment coordinator to get that evaluation that Jose mentioned. So I just want to point that out. Our next question is for Kelly. Does NAU offer a payment plan and how do students sign up? Is there a deadline?
Yes, yes, we do. So, as I mentioned before, housing and meal plan are usually broken up, but tuition is due in full at the beginning. So, we do offer a payment plan so that you can break that up as well. And so, you'll want to really consider that if you're not able to pay that balance by the due date, August 17th, you may want to consider self-enrolling into that plan. If you self-enroll into the plan before the deadline, there is a lower enrollment fee, which is $75, and you can enroll directly in Louis right there in your own finances in the financial account tile. And it works by breaking up that tuition balance into multiple installments throughout the semester. And it could be a good alternative to loans, perhaps if you maybe just need a little bit more time to be able to pay throughout the semester. Also, there's no interest for the plan and there's no credit checks to qualify. You can just simply enroll right in your Louis account directly when you need it on a semester basis. So the other thing to note that if tuition remains outstanding after that due date, you may be eligible to be automatically placed on that payment plan in order to secure that tuition and your enrollment. And that does come with a little bit higher 150 deferred payment fee. So we would be sending out warning notifications about unpaid tuition around that timeline. So it's encouraged to have your student keep an eye on the NAU email for those notifications if there's anything outstanding. But again, consider ahead of time for enrolling in that plan if you need a little bit more time to pay.
Great. Next question here is for Mark. What can families do this summer to set their student up to be well during their first semester? So kind of a more general question.
I love that question. I mean, prevention pays, right? So, understanding that these emerging adults are going to be left to their own, and it's really boils down to the basics. I mean, I hate to say, quote your grandmother and eat your vegetables, but really, it's like exercise, drink plenty of water, especially at high altitude. Be careful of the sun, get plenty of sleep. Mitigate your stress. All of these things play into your academics. And believe me, drinking water from a fire hydrant in medical school. I don't think I was very healthy during that time, so I really have some insight in how, this can be a real transition for folks. And look for that 90-day homesick mark, even if you're from Tucson or Phoenix or Yuma, people start to transition around 90 days and miss home. So make sure that those social belongings are well intact, those friendship groups, and coming to visit during Parents Weekend, all of those things that really root people in their new community. Again, and get your wellness check from your regular primary care physician or nurse practitioner back home. Make sure you're tip top and that you have enough medications if you want to continue care at that remote location to get you through the academic year. Otherwise, we'd be happy to have you transition with us and be your medical home away from home. All of those basics tie in together. And, campus health is right down the hallway from campus rec. So, we're hand in hand with all of these things. And there's so many resources on campus where you can get more information, nutrition or clubs or belonging or cooking classes. I mean, it's all here for you. So, be engaged, socialize, and you'll find your people.
Awesome. Love those tips. Thank you. I love focusing on the basics. When I've talked with NAU counseling, they've talked about how sometimes students will come and they're panicking in their first semester. And some of the first questions they ask are you eating? Are you sleeping? So really basic things. So families, it's not too much to check in and make sure that your kid is eating and sleeping, and doing those things that we maybe think are very basic because they're juggling a whole new life, new classes, new schedule, all that kind of stuff. Our next question is for Jose. We got this question a lot. Can you just explain briefly what federal work study is and how do students get considered for work study? And then if students want to work on campus, can they do that with work study or without work study?
Yes. Yes, students can find on-campus employment regardless if they have work study. or not. Well, a lot of employers on campus will prefer work study for budget reasons on the back end that doesn't really matter to us as employees. They have that preference to hire federal work study folks, but anybody can apply for positions. The positions themselves will indicate whether or not they are strictly looking for work study, but pretty much for the most part, it's hourly or work study. As far like beyond that, the key difference that I want to make sure parents and students always understand about work study is that they will see an award posted on their Louis account. Unlike everything else, that award will not apply towards their charges, right? Like that award represents how much they can receive in earnings through their employment. The benefit of work study earnings is that they do not negatively count towards the student's FAFSA when we're taking into account how much income they received when it comes time to do their FAFSA. So anything that they're earning in 2026 will be relevant for the 28-29 academic year. So when they're juniors, any money that they make as a work study student will not count against them when we're evaluating for their federal aid eligibility, unlike a regular hourly job, whether that's on campus, at a restaurant, off campus, retail, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Those are the big things. The other big thing, too, that I want students and parents to understand about work study is that aside from what I just mentioned, everything else is just like any other job, and that's what the student's experience is going to be. They will go on a website, right now it's Handshake. They will look for a position, they will apply for what they're interested in, submit resumes, land an interview, go through the interview, apply, report their time, and receive paychecks on a biweekly period. All of that is the exact same as any other job. The difference is where is that money coming from, and that matters to the employers. And for the student, how does this positively impact me? We won't take it into account when we're looking at your income. Specifically for work study, we'll ignore what you earn from work study at that time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jose. That's
Mhm.
helpful.
Okay, I think I have the final question of this family chat, and this is for all of our panelists. So for Jose, Kelly, and Mark, if you had one piece of advice for new NAU families to make the transition smoother for their student, what would it be? Um, and this could be, a resource. It could be general advice, maybe something that you learned along the way. But yeah, what's one piece of advice that you have for new families trying to help out their students?
I can go first. I definitely recommend that students get involved and find their community here, especially if they're coming from far out of town. Like Mark mentioned, you might miss home. It's really, really important to find your community, 100%. Beyond that, check your emails and have your students check their emails. And especially the big one, parents and families, I know y'all want to talk to us about your students' financial aid. We legally cannot unless they provided you consent, or unless they provided consent for us to share that with you. And that's through the FERPA. And I know it can be frustrating, but we have to follow the law. And so those are my tips.
Yeah,
Great,
picking.
Kelly. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say, piggybacking on that, that would be one of my strongest points of advice, especially for parents and families who are trying to help their students. Every year, I do see that everyone is wanting to help students, but we are maybe limited in some of that access. So, really have that discussion about FERPA release and authorized payers. That way, it can make that smooth transition so you can help your student and we can help just free flowing communication. We don't have to pull them out of classes to address whatever this question is about a payment or a charge that's going to help them. So really do that and and yeah, check in with them. That's really important.
Mark, I think you have the final word here.
Okay, well, I'm going to put a first gen spin on this. So I'm first gen, and in some ways you become a scrapper, and it's really an asset. In other ways, it's a liability because you've learned in so many ways to fight your way through this process, and sometimes that can be not asking for help. So, half of our class are first gen students, and congratulations to them. They're at the very beginning of a wonderful path. This place is here to support them. There's a great resource center. Again, I would agree with everyone here. Get involved, find your people, stay connected to your community, your culture. don't lose sight of who you are when you're, knee deep in the books and all the classes. So again, we're just reach out for help, know who you are. It's going to be a challenge. You're going to adapt. You're going to succeed. You've already come this far. So congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that wonderful advice. This is coming to a close. So if we can see some reactions for our panelists who shared some amazing tips, resources, and advice, and then even some more reactions. Look at all those hearts for our friends in the Q&A who answered so many questions. Let me see how many questions. Almost 90 questions. That is a lot. I would be sweating if I was a Q&A expert. So thank you all for being here and being a part of this. And thank you for supporting your student on their journey. I am going to open the chat again, and I'm actually going to open it this time. I uh, saw last time I didn't actually open it. So the chat is open. If you can just share one thing that surprised you or something that you learned or that was special to you in the chat real quick, that would be awesome. And then please be sure to join us at our next Lumberjack Family Chats. Our next one is July 15th. We'll have one in September as well. Just a little bit into your student being here, and they might be navigating some things and having questions, so you can ask those questions there. Scan the QR code for those. We'll also put this recording at that website, the recording for the first Lumberjack Family